Starting now, you are not to blink. If you blink, we go back to start. Infringement. You blinked. Starting now, you are not to blink. If you blink, we go back to start. Do you often think about how inconsequential you are?
No.
Do you believe that God will save you from your own ridiculousness?
No.
Infringement. Back to start.
Damn it!
Do you often think about how inconsequential you are?
Yes.
Do you believe that God will save you?
No.
Are you lying?
No.
Have you ever killed anyone?
No.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yes.
Who?
Matthew Powers.
Do you regret this?
No.
Where's your father?
Probably feeding guppies in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania.
Well, that's all we were looking for. Thanks for coming in.
Okay. Well, I'm sold.
So we'll get you in here next week, and it's just a $10,000 check, and just make it out to your tall pod.
Yeah. Do you need me to like physically assault anyone in your name?
Yeah, everyone you can.
Great.
Thanks a lot. Well, it's going to be a pleasure working with you.
I'm so excited. This is my calling.
You're tall, but I'm standing in front of you.
It's a podcast.
Welcome to You're Tall, but I'm Standing in Front of You, the podcast where two friends circling the drain of academia examine the cultural detritus of the 20th century. I'm Devin.
I'm Ethan.
And we are joined today by my good friend, Sarah Osment. She teaches at the University of Chicago, and she's here to talk to us about The Master 2012. Sarah, how's it going?
It's great. I'm so happy to be here to talk about this glorious film with you.
Yeah, so we really need your help this week because traditionally this is a podcast about bad movies.
Yeah, cultural detritus.
Yeah,
Devin, is that?
We really don't know what we're doing this week, so so we're gonna need your help.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do my best.
There's aspects of both cultural detritus and also 20th century that perhaps are problematic in talking about 2012's The Master. So.
Well, it's set in the 20th century, and it is certainly about cultural detritus. It may not itself be cultural detritus, but what is the cultural detritus of the 20th century if not Scientology? Well,
your words, not mine.
Please direct actually all the Church of Scientology members listening this week. All inquiries, questions, complaints, please direct to @Mathisipi on Twitter.
Oh no,
that is my Twitter account.
Oh no.
Please contact me. I know that it might not look like it's my Twitter account, but I try to keep a low profile. By tweeting about math education.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you got legitimate hate mail from Scientologists?
It could happen.
Yeah.
We could use the what is it? Jay-Z said you always want to beef up.
Oh yeah.
Right? We could really use the exposure. I openly challenge those awful people at Scientology with their made-up beliefs that aren't real. I have read Dianetics. I have it on the shelf over here, so I know what I'm talking about. It's it's very weird.
You're gonna have to enlighten us, because I have not read. I mean, I did a little bit of research on Hubbard, but I have not read the Dianetics, and I know you work on him in part, right?
Yeah, I'm writing about him right now in my dissertation, like literally like I was doing it 5 minutes before joining the Zoom call. So I'm actually kind of at a frustrating point with, after researching him for like multiple years, finally trying to like get my thoughts on him on the page. So like maybe you guys will help me clarify some of these thoughts too as we go through. But
yeah, I mean, like, have you locked the third chapter of your dissertation in like the desert in the Southwest, just like ready to share it with us and the world?
Yeah, and that really gets in the way of the Pomodoro technique, because it's like, I have my 5-minute break, I get on a plane back to Philly, and then, the 5 minutes are up and I've got to get all the way back to the desert. I've got to pull the chapter out. It's really become an arduous process.
I like the idea of you, after defending your dissertation, getting on a motorcycle and never returning, just like sailing into the sunset.
It's probably not going to be my choice, but that is very likely what's going to happen. Just like saying goodbye to my family, like, I'm going to go out west, see if they've got any tenure track jobs over there. He was never heard from again.
Yeah.
Well, the Master, unlike Demolition Man, probably not as many people are familiar with. So I figured I would start us off with just setting the scene, just like a brief plot synopsis before we go into the full film, just to, the bait on the hook to draw people in, if you will. So this week, we're discussing 2012's The Master. This film, directed by PTA, I'm not sure which parent-teacher association, but probably one of the big ones, stars Joaquin Phoenix as the Man in Black, the one and only Johnny Cash, and the late Philip Seymour Hoffman as the Master, a man who can only legally be described as most definitely not L. Ron Hubbard. Phoenix's character plays a World War II veteran, shout out to the troops and the flag and freedom, who encounters the Master and his free-thinking friends in the universally optimistic and carefree days of the United States in the early 1950s. The story follows Phoenix's character, the Master, and all of their friends, including a young Rami Malek and the indomitable Laura Dern, on special acting release from David Lynch. You will laugh, you will cry, and you will feel the good kind of confused as you join this band of characters as they take on the woke culture and corrupt federal and perhaps intergalactic governmental forces. In the end, you'll be left wanting more, but perhaps moving forward into the 1970s and maybe in the San Fernando Valley, I don't know. Everyone, please join us as we discuss The Master.
Brilliant.
I think everyone, they're ready to go.
Yeah, no, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I do like, though, you've given me this image of like this, there's like an alternative universe where we got the entire like Master cinematic universe, right? Where like we had like films about the alien Lord Xenu, intergalactic jaunts and such. Like Eternals might as well be like a Master sequel, right? Like but yeah, so anyway, to get into the actual details of the film, do you want us to wait, Ethan, or?
Oh, you're good.
All right. So anyway, let's jump into this plot real quick. Sarah, you want to help take us through it?
Sure, yeah. So we meet a young Joaquin Phoenix. There's the opening shot is a shot of a wake in the ocean, and that'll become significant in part because Joaquin Phoenix, who plays this character named Freddie, is a Navy seaman, and also a lot of the film takes place on the water. And we'll think about why that is later, but so after we get this opening shot of the wake, we see Freddie in a helmet. He's sort of grimacing. We know that we learn later that he, as Ethan mentioned, fought in World War II.
In the Pacific Theater, right?
Yeah. And there aren't actually a lot of scenes of him during war. Most of the film is sort of recovering his trauma vis-a-vis the processing sessions, right? But we never actually see it directly, which is interesting to think about. But in any case, there's like a quick, shot of him in battle, and then suddenly he's like, surrounded by men, whacking coconuts and drinking this, mysterious potion out of a coconut. And, we quickly learn that he's a drunk, and he is really good at making this very potent alcoholic concoction that's made partly of paint thinner, which is going to become important to his relationship with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character later on. And so, I mean, we can go slowly or quickly, but basically there's the first sort of quarter of the film is just setting up his kind of rocky return back to civilization. And it's clear that he's not in great shape, right? He's drinking a lot. He gets in fights a lot. He seems to have a particularly vexed relationship to sex and sexuality. The first bit of dialogue that he utters is, which is amazing, is, do you know how to get rid of crabs, right? And he sort of tells that joke to the other, I don't know if they're soldiers or just people on this island, about like, like shaving one of his balls and then lighting the hair on the other ball on fire, and then waiting for the crabs to return and stabbing them, right? Like he's so that's the first like bit of dialogue that we get from him, and it's so incredible, in part because you can see that he's unhinged, right? And he and that he's both sort of childlike. He has like a very adolescent sense of humor, but he's also incredibly violent, right? And the combination of like humor and joy and violence is like something that sort of carries his performance throughout, I think.
Yeah, and while he's on this island, we also get this image that ends up recurring throughout the film, right? Of this woman made of sand, this like naked woman that I think the other soldiers are actually making, I think, initially, and then he kind of like basically like gets on top of and starts like fucking.
Yeah. And then he jerks off later to it.
Yeah. But we get this recurring shot of him sort of like lying with his like hand sort of like on the sand breast of this woman, this sculpture. But it's like very much, this like kind of this crude adolescent boyhood idea of like sexuality that like whenever he tries to reproduce with like actual people, it seems like he can't quite do it, or he gets frustrated, and then that frustration often leads to violence, like his you were saying, like he gets kicked off a lot of jobs basically because he keeps getting into fights and causing trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's something really incredible, we could talk about this later, but about how deeply failed he there are lots of scenes of him having sex with women or sort of flirting with women or whatever, and it's clear that he does okay, right? But ultimately those encounters kind of fail or fall short. And I think this time when I was watching, and I realized like the most erotic relationship he has is the one with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Like, and in fact, like, the kind of eroticism and the kind of charge between them during the processing scenes, but also after, it's like the central romance of the film, in many ways. And I think, we can sort of talk about the ending and how that sort of plays out in terms of, sexuality and eroticism and stuff. But so he gets kicked off a lot, fired from a lot of jobs, and I have in my notes so many crowds of men. There's lots of like card games and like drinking in sort of smoky basements, and you know, and we see him sort of like in these various scenes of you know, between men. There's a moment then sort of toward the end of that sequence where he meets somebody who I think is like a psychologist who works for the military, and you know, he does a Rorschach test, and of course everything he sees is like a pussy or a cock. And you know, we get some sense that there's something's going on with his mother, but we don't quite know what it is. And then suddenly we see him in this new job as a family photographer, which is
in like a department store.
Yeah.
Like,
which is such a like it's gorgeously shot, I think, but it's also very funny that this person who clearly well, not clearly, but we get the hint that he's doesn't belong to the world of the nuclear family, is suddenly like firmly installed and representing it and reproducing
it. That's so good. Yeah. Yeah, and he's doing like this very classic like portraiture photography.
Yeah.
Right. Like and wearing these hilarious suits, like the way the costuming is done in this film, like really emphasizes his, like, they really shrink his torso.
Yeah.
His pants are always really high up, and he has kind of these thick, short ties, and the stuff he's doing with his shoulders as an actor, it all kind of emphasizes this almost kind of like simian or like animalistic nature to him, which like later, like Lancaster Dodd is always referring to him as an animal. He's like, oh, you're such a silly animal. But he literally like he looks like the phrase like monkey suit. Like he looks like this unnaturally, like, you know, unnaturally situated creature in this like, you know, world of like basically prepackaged domesticity of the, like, you know, the post-war department store.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking too about, I mean, you know, I hadn't seen this movie until I mean, I saw this movie recently, but watching it after seeing Joker really made me think about the parallels, not really between the characters, but between the sort of physiognomy of their performances. Like they're both like thin and hunched over, and there's this way in which Freddie is kind of constantly looking through his brow, like is constantly sort of like hunched over. And I think that posture is totally part of what you're identifying rightly as a sort of simian or animalistic, you know, sort of trait that he has. I don't know, the way that he moves in space in this movie is totally amazing to me. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think
oh no, yeah, but we were in he's at the photography job. We get a taste of this relationship he has with another worker at the department store, which seemingly her job is to like wear clothes from the department store and kind of walk around and like say the price, which does anyone know if that's like a real job that existed? Like,
I tried to look this up, but I couldn't find any information about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm really curious about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of will have these like sexual dalliances in like while on company time, right? Like in like the what is it in like the dark room or whatever.
Yeah.
Which also like provides him more chemicals to make his weird drinks. Like he's always making the drinks of like kind of whatever the jobs provide. Like he's using like fuel from the torpedoes when he's on the ship. He's using like photography chemicals while he's at the department store. But there's a quick, they talk about like going on a date, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a quick, and I've seen this film so many times and I did not remember this shot. This is like the one thing seeing this time I don't think I'd ever noticed before because it's so quick. But there's just like a shot of them out to dinner and he's just like passed out.
Yeah.
And then the next day he gets into this this confrontation, which I don't know if you want to pick back up, Sarah, but
sure. Yeah. So this like very this businessman comes into the store for a portrait, and interestingly, the businessman looks a lot like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I mean, not exactly, but
very similar haircut. He has a mustache.
And something about him irritates Freddie, and so Freddie sort of like does this incredible thing. I mean, he, you know, Freddie is a working man, and this man is clearly like in a different, like he's bourgeois, right? And so Freddie does this amazing thing where he like moves the lights like very, very close to the man, and he's like starting to sweat and feel uncomfortable, and it's this like totally wonderful confrontation. And then of course like the guy loses it and they get into a fight, and then, you know, once again Freddie you know, leaves his job or gets fired from his job.
And the fight is like pure slapstick too, in a certain sense. Like it feels darker because of the context, but it's like very zany. Like they're really running through this department store. Freddie's like throwing stuff at him, throwing, like grabbing, like, you know, merchandise and throwing it. And like the way the very like kind of physical nature of his acting really like kind of sells that too, right?
I think he runs out of the store essentially with the girl he had gone on the date with.
He like kind of grabbed, but she's never really seen again, right?
She's never seen again, so I'm assuming that that plan didn't pan out as he envisioned.
Falling asleep at dinner is probably not a good sign of the relationship, right?
But that's kind of, it kind of goes back to like what Sarah was saying about like the nature of his sexuality, right? It's like he has this cartoonish version of like heteronormativity, right? Where he's like I got a huge boner for women, look how much I like women. And like when it's being done in this subversive way, like on the clock, he like gets really into it, but like he can't actually like his by the end of the day his body is inevitably like worn out and gone, right? Like he's not actually able to like sustain a relationship with a woman as more than sort of like this like momentary, like it's like a firecracker going off, right? But then he has like no interest after that. It's
also so fascinating that he like I just you reminded me that the sex scenes in the dark room make me realize that he's sort of a hero for me in a way, because he's like so profoundly anti-work. Like he's constantly drinking and doing other shit on the job to like sort of avoid labor, avoid the drudgery of post-war work, right? So, but yeah, you're right that ultimately those brief encounters with women cannot sustain him, right? In the way that the encounter with Dodd will, right, for many years.
I guess the next thing is him getting to the ship, right?
Well, so after he, I guess, is fired from his job at the department store,
of course,
he goes and works. He goes to California and works at the cabbage farm.
Right.
And so he's picking cabbages all day, but again, still making his elixirs with whatever ingredients he has. And then like one evening, like him and the other farm workers are like, he gives a drink to the, like one of the older workers who he says like, you look like my father, is the thing he keeps saying to him as he's like essentially poisoning this guy by giving him this drink. And so the guy probably dies but is unconscious, and all the other farm workers are like, you poisoned it, like they just keep repeating like, you poisoned him, you poisoned him. And so he just like runs,
There's that gorgeous tracking shot of him running through the cabbage field, and he's just like this little, again, it's like comical almost, the way that his body moves in space. And I feel like that running away, the way that it's the way that it's shot is gonna it comes back when he's on the motorcycle later, right? He just sort of runs.
Yeah.
I feel like those two scenes are sort of visually like they're rhyming visually, but
absolutely, yeah.
But he runs all the way to Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That's right. Yeah. So he sort of like comes to the ship. He sees this ship on the boat. There's this sort of like party going on, right? There's lights and music and something happy is going on. He I think he hops onto the boat. He wakes up at sea, and there's a woman next to him. Is that right? I can't exactly remember.
I think there's someone other there. Yeah, I think there's a woman who then brings him to Lancaster Dodd.
That's what it is. Okay.
But so like we don't actually see. We get like information later. We get like dialogue describing what happened in between, but we never actually see this. Like, we see him jump onto the ship, and then there's like a cut to him waking up. And then this, I can't remember if it's, I don't know if it's a worker or like a cause member or if it's Dodd's daughter, but a woman brings him to see Lancaster Dodd, who we've gotten like a very brief glimpse of. If you're looking for it, you can see him on the boat.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I was like looking this time because I was like, do you actually see him? You can, but if you didn't know he was coming, you wouldn't know who he was going to be. But he's on that shot. But then we get this amazing dialogue scene basically where Freddie meets Lancaster Dodd, who is like the head of something called the Cause. That has nothing to do with Scientology.
Nothing.
Right, he identifies himself, right? What does he say? He like Freddie asked him, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I am many things."
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, I'm a writer, I'm a nuclear physicist, theoretical philosopher, but above all, I am a man. And that very much kind of
right. Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, he says just like you, right? I mean,
yeah, and that like very much sets the tone, I think, for like the kind of like utterances Lancaster Dodd tends to engage in throughout the movie, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I love the dialogue there is so the first encounter with them is obviously really important because this is the central relationship, romance, sort of father-son relation, there's all kinds of things going on here, right? But one of the most important things I think Dodd says to Freddie is, you seem familiar to me.
Yes.
That becomes this, it's sort of like at first, I think it disarms Freddie a little bit, right? And allows him to trust in a way that he might not otherwise. And of course, I mean, this is maybe a bit of a stretch, but he's in part familiar to us because we see a version of him in that department store, right? Like, I mean, it's, again, he's not a total doppelganger for Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I think that guy was cast to vaguely resemble who's going to appear later.
Yeah, I mean, they're styled almost exactly the same, which I mean, it is like a 1950s style, but still, like, there's a lot of other characters in the movie, and no one is styled. And then also, like, just like his kind of size and shape and height and everything are like very, very similar. Same kind of suit he's wearing. So I think I had never thought of that before, but that's like right on, I think.
Yeah. So I think it's then that they, that he asks him, that he expresses interest in Freddie's potions, right?
Yeah.
He asks them what's in it, and Freddie says secrets, which is such a wonderful thing, right? And then he invites Freddie to his daughter's, is it engagement or wedding party?
I think it's the wedding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the wedding is happening on the ship.
Yep.
That's right. And so he just sort of like brings him into the fold, right? And from there, it doesn't take long before he's sort of in the inner circle, like he's part of the family in a way, like he's constantly with Dodd, or with I can't remember his Dodd's wife's name, but she's played by Amy Adams. Peggy, that's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Val is his son, who's played by Jesse Plemons from like Breaking Bad and various other things. And then the daughter is Elizabeth. And then Rami Malek plays her husband, Clark. That's kind of like the core.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was, I think, the first I saw Rami Malek too. I think this like, there's a lot of like small roles by significant actors in this. Yeah. But yeah. So you were saying he gets integrated into the family.
They drink together. The more they drink together, the more they bond, right? I think one of you put in the notes for the recording today that it's like a love story between two alcoholics, and I think that's totally right. You know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, finally, after a sort of like montage of this, like him becoming more familiar, we get our glimpse at the first processing. This is about like 38 minutes into the film.
Mm-hmm. And this is like a very lightly fictionalized version of what, like, if you're familiar with Scientology, would be called auditing.
Okay. Yeah.
That's quite a stretch, Devin. I wouldn't make that connection. Anyways, go on.
Careful about those letters, guys. Careful. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, this is one of many really powerful scenes between them. And, you know, the processing or the auditing unfolds through a series of questions. It's almost like a catechism, but it's very repetitive. You know, Dodd asks him to give him his name, and then progressively, you know, asks him several times. Importantly, he's not supposed to blink when he answers these questions, so he has to restart several times because he's blinking, of course. And as the processing session unfolds, it becomes clear. We learned that Freddie had sex with his aunt a few times. And that he's killed people in the war. And, you know, one of the things, I mean, we can talk about this more later if you're interested, but I find their on-screen chemistry so fascinating, in part because, you know, as I mentioned before, Joaquin Phoenix in general, but particularly in this role, is so wild and so like volatile. And even when he's still, like, you can see he's this like he's ready to blow, right? And there's such a contrast to the sort of measured, controlled delivery of Dodd's, you know, of Dodd. Like he's sort of mastering his gestures, right? In a way that Freddie can never. Really. And so seeing that really intense difference in their performances and seeing it escalate, right, as the processing goes on, is like, I don't know, I was just like blown away. I mean, every time I've been blown away, but I was like when I watched it again, I was newly amazed by it.
The acting he does with his face throughout the movie, but particularly in the processing scene, is just incredible. These like kind of, he's barely moving, but his face is like contorting in all these different ways. It almost feels like, it almost looks like a mask at sometimes, like the way it's changing so much. And they're very too, it's very interesting how compelling their chemistry is, because they're like essentially doing two completely different styles of acting,
right,
that somehow exist in the same movie, and it doesn't feel like some kind of like postmodern juxtaposition pastiche thing. Like it feels real, but like Phoenix is really doing this, like, you know, like kind of method acting, like completely embodied like character and like Lancaster Dodd, partly because like the character himself is a performer. Like, I think maybe that's why it works. But he is very much like, a lot of people have compared Hoffman's performance in this to Orson Welles.
Yeah.
And it's like this very like, it's very good acting, but it's very much in like it's the style of acting where like, it's not trying to be like naturalistic. Like it seems like a performance. Yeah. Like he's always in the position of being an orator in this movie. And like, he gives these like grandiose speeches and like makes these little jokes and stuff, but it's this very kind of like old style, whereas like Phoenix is this like just kind of like unhinged, like, you know, personage.
There's that the moment when he before when they first meet and he invites him to his daughter's wedding reception. Instead of saying like, hey, go take a shower, he says, make yourself clean, which is like, you know, which is a phrase I've now adopted and love.
There's a lot of, you could talk all day about this movie just about like Lancaster Dodd quotes. Like there's one point where he's giving his like, he's talking at the end of the wedding, he's kind of like telling everybody like, it was a great day, but the way he says that is, we fought against the day and we won.
I know. I wrote that down. I was like, they're in battle? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. But yeah, so do we want to talk about like when the processing scene like actually goes to being a real flashback or whatever?
Yeah, why don't you you should take the lead on that.
Yeah, sure. So like there's been, you know, the processing scene is going on and like he's been told not to blink. There's this like amazing moment where it becomes clear it's not verbally acknowledged, but like Dodd's essentially gotten him going and like he's blinking like crazy and is no longer telling him like infringement. And he's like, and there's this point where I can't remember exactly what he says, but he says something like recall a memory. Mm-hmm. Or actually maybe the film cuts first. There's like a very sudden cut because we've been in this reverse shot situation for like a long time, which we're mostly seeing Freddie and then sometimes we're seeing Dodd. Mm-hmm. And then we like cut to sort of this shot of just like, I don't even know where it is. It's like New England or something. It's like wherever Freddie calls from.
Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah. And I think then Dodd says something along the lines of like, recall a memory. Mm-hmm. And like he asks, he's like, what are you wearing? And he says like navy blues. And it's like, and this is like the film visually representing what processing or in Scientology auditing like allegedly does, mm-hmm. which it's this process of like allowing you to completely re-inhabit a memory, not to go over a memory in like a psychoanalysis sense, but like you actually are inhabiting the past. Because L. Ron Hubbard thought the brain actually remembered everything, and it was just like we just needed to access it. And it's really interesting that the film is almost kind of like endorsing the technique by doing this, mm-hmm. This filmically, but they don't do it again. Like when he's doing it to the lady at the party later, like we don't see this. Like we hear what her verbal report of what she experienced, right? We hear verbal reports of what like other cause members are experiencing. But I almost feel like the film is almost telling us like, it maybe doesn't actually work for everybody, but it does somehow work for Freddie. And we do like go back to this past and we learn about this girl named Doris, basically, that he knew and loved, and she's like singing him a song, right? But he basically has this like moment of self-sabotage where he like they make all these plans about how they're going to be together, and he kind of like impulsively goes to like it's like a merchant marine or something, and like just signs on to be an oiler on a ship the next day. And they're like, okay, tomorrow 8 a.m. And then he goes back and he tells her and he's like, oh, like, you know, I'll be back and that'll be our time. But you get the sense this is kind of, at least Freddie thinks this is kind of like his like almost like originary trauma, I guess, like this or at least like his core problem, this like self-sabotage he's been demonstrating throughout the film, where like what he ostensibly wants is like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And he just like can't allow himself to do it or something. I don't know. What's your read on that?
I had questions for you guys about it, because I honestly feel, I mean, I think you're right that this moment is anomalous in the film, because it does show the processing, it does show the memory, and I think you're right that it in showing it does sort of at least tacitly endorse this method, at least for Freddie. But we, before this happens, we learn that he's had this, that his mother is psychotic, that his father was a drunk, that he slept with his aunt a few times. So when they show this moment with Doris, I thought, okay, like I get it, but I feel like I wasn't ultimately convinced that, or I guess I just wondered why they chose that as the trauma to represent, because we already know that he suffered, in my mind, more severe traumas earlier in his life, right?
True.
So
Yeah. With like his mother, with his aunt. Yeah.
So why is Doris and later, he'll go through this, there's this montage where he continues to go through the processing, and he and Rami Malek are sort of facing each other, and of course Dodd is in the middle as the mediator, and Rami Malek says Doris, 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 and he's trying to basically like control his reaction or not have a reaction, and then eventually he's like, if you say her name one more time, I'll fucking kill you, or I'll, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, what, why? I don't know. Doris may I think maybe Doris is like condensation for a lot of things, like his issues with women in general.
Yeah.
But I don't see Doris as herself as the site of considerable trauma, right?
Yeah. So that tracks to me. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, like, there's part of me that, and I don't mean, this is going to sound like I'm doing this in like the way you would talk about like a Marvel movie or something, like with dissecting the plot, and I don't mean it in that way, but like, there's part of me that wonders if like Doris is real.
Yeah.
And like, I don't necessarily mean like, I'm not interested in answering that like diegetically definitively, but like we only see her in these flashbacks. And then there is the scene later, not to jump ahead, but like he goes to like her house, and like her mother's there and she's not there, but like she is never actually like diegetically represented in the film, like as a non-memory. And so like, maybe it's like, so like the cause is purporting to locate these like actual memories, right? And maybe it's like the film is kind of like poking some holes in that, and like Doris is really sort of like the story Freddie tells himself to like explain himself to himself.
That's sort of what I was thinking as you were diving into that like it's sort of this retelling of perhaps Freddie's interpretation of what happened when he was there, but I feel like what happens later when he returns almost like casts some doubt on whether or not this was this beautiful love story that he just had to like run off to the Merchant Marines, and he'd be back for her, and she'd definitely wait for him. Like the fact that like her mother later on when he actually does return is sort of like, the fuck are you doing here? Like this is weird.
And we should point out she's like 16 or 17 too, right? Like this, it's not like there's like Freddie's account of the events, and then there is sort of like what we actually kind of learn later. So I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think, I'm totally convinced by that. I really like what you said, Ethan, about it being like a version of the story that he tells himself, because it would make sense that in the first processing session, he wouldn't be able to access, I mean, I don't know anything about Scientology, but I think that it takes work to actually get to recover those memories that are particularly traumatic, right? So if this is their first session, it would make sense that this is the version that he allows himself to recover, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you said something, Devin, before about like Scientology and obviously the cause has no relation to Scientology, but
absolutely.
But both seem to be invested in memory and in recovering memory. And you said something about how Hubbard believed that the memory recorded, that the mind recorded all memories. What is the point of recovering memory, right? Because it seems like it's not psychoanalytic, right?
Yeah, well, it's weird. Yeah, so and we get kind of like these weird little, we never get like a top-down explanation of what the cause is in the film, but we get these weird little moments like, sorry.
Well, so can we like briefly pause, but like let's forward in the plot to like they get off the boat, they're done with traveling through the Panama Canal, because I think this actually plays into like what is the whole point of this presumed like looking at past memories or past lives, because I feel like that comes up when they actually like arrive in New York City, Lancaster is having like this meeting, and he's doing the process, and he's talking about this idea of how we inhabit these past lives and accessing those memories, and that can help you recognize these falsities that have been given to us by the authorities, whoever they may be. And when we actually access those past memories, that counteracts this narrative that we've been told about history and who we are, and what reality is. So that to me, I hate to I'm just like sort of jumping forward in the plot, but I feel like that to me that's when they really start to dig into this idea of like, well, what's the whole point of accessing these past memories? It's to kind of awaken you to the reality of the history of who we are and what it means to be a man or to be a human. That came to mind.
Do you want me to gloss the what that means, what he says during the New York scene, like in real Scientological terms, or do you want me to?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So,
even though it has nothing to do with it, but go on.
No, but yeah. So the when you were just talking about that, Ethan, with this idea of like the falsities. So like in Scientology, the word they would use for these falsities is engrams.
Okay.
And basically, and it's a little unclear what an engram is to me. Like it's kind of like a traumatic memory, but it's a little different. So like basically the idea is like, and he had these ideas that he took some stuff from Freud. He took some stuff from like cybernetics, and then other stuff he just kind of made up. There's a lot of things that go into this, but basically there's this analytical mind that is the like perfect. He describes it as a perfect computer that is incapable of error. But then there's something he calls the reactive mind, which this is this part of the mind that records everything indiscriminately, but it's essentially a stupid machine. It doesn't have the ability to tell, it can't discern what it's recording. And so in practice, what does this mean? It means that to give like a very tangible example, he was very concerned with, because he thought this started from the moment of conception. So he was very concerned with that you shouldn't talk around pregnant women. Or especially during birth, like you need to be very careful about what you say.
That's interesting, given that Amy Adams appears to be pregnant this entire film.
But there's the moment where she touches her stomach and tells Freddie, "We record everything." Like that's what she's talking about, right?
Oh, okay.
So like there's this. One of the examples he's giving, and almost all of his examples, if you read Dianetics, are super sexist. But he's like, it's like, stuff about like, if you have sex with someone while she's pregnant, while they're pregnant, like, and the baby will like hear, the unborn child will like hear what you're saying, but like won't understand the context and will like misunderstand it, right? So like, it's all these ideas that there are like, the engrams are literally like linguistic phrases that you've ostensibly like remembered, but you misinterpret it. And it's like, that's why you have to be so careful, because someone could even say like, I don't hate my child, but like you could just, your engram could become just the part of that sentence that's like hate my child, right? So even though you were saying the negative. And so like, then this idea is like you go back and you replay this stuff over and over and over again, and that these engrams basically like lose their potency and their power over you.
Okay.
And then you become what he calls clear, right? Like the phrase going clear, because you don't have these engrams anymore. And that basically means you are like a blank slate. Like he wanted to like, and then you have access to your like perfect computer brain. Okay. Because the problem is not that the computer doesn't work, it's that it's being fed incorrect data by the reactive mind. So essentially that's the idea of what like Dodd is saying he's doing when it's like we go over this stuff again and again and again, and we and then he did literally claim like this would like cure disease and stuff. Like he claims in Dianetics that like, so he describes morning sickness as quote, an aberration stemming from engrams. Somewhere back in time, some mother may have vomited from food poisoning and started the whole thing. And he then I don't have the full quote, but refers to like even in the days when like man was living in trees or something. So his idea is essentially that like some random occurrence, right? Like someone happens to be sick and vomiting while pregnant, I guess, and then this like causes some sort of faulty association that gets like passed on for like the rest of time, right? But that's like where you get some of these like really like ludicrous claims of Scientology that you could like cure yourself with cancer and stuff. Because the idea is that humans are perfect. And so like, if you clear yourself of these engrams, you should return, right? He says that when he's yelling at this John New York Moore party. Yeah. There's like this skeptic who weirdly to me talks like in the style of like a like debate team Twitter guy.
I thought he was like the PC guy from the Mac vs. PC ads.
Oh yeah,
a lot of those vibes like coming off.
But yeah, I guess like to get back into the plot, right? So like they're in New York. Basically, L. Ron Hubbard freaks out at this John Moore guy who's challenged him. He calls him a pig fuck. They get kicked out of the party. Freddie Quill goes and beats that guy up. And then, you know, what else happens? It's basically just like more adventures in the world of Scientology, right? Like,
they go to Philadelphia, right?
To Laura Dern's house. Yeah.
Meet Laura Dern, who's like, I love it when she plays like a new agey or like, you know, sort of a particular kind of spiritual white woman. She's like just so brilliant at it.
Yeah, you get the idea from like, again, jumping ahead here, but you get the idea from later when he comes out with his second book that like she is very bought in to the cause, but like and is very well versed in the linguistics and the way that the method works for the cause. But yeah, so they go to her house in Philadelphia. And Devin, I know you live in that area. The Philly PD shows up. Is this like was this did that like resonate with you, that scene?
Absolutely.
Have you had like a number of those
whenever I'm like staying on my like palatial estate that apparently is somewhere in Philadelphia, I don't know like what part of Philly that was supposed to be. There's like trees, like there's like acreage of greenery around the house. Like I don't even know where the closest house to it is. So if it's Philly, it's like in the far reaches. But yeah, you know, they're having like basically like, I don't know, like a conference or something. That maybe conference isn't the right word, but like a big, like a workshop, big, like kind of lots of people coming and learning about the cause. And these police officers show up to arrest Dodd. We don't get like a full, this movie's what I love. One of the things I love about it is it's not interested in like unnecessary exposition. So we don't get that much information of exactly why they're being arrested, but it's like, you know, it's like he's been kind of doing weird shit with people's money, you know, maybe taking people's money under false pretenses. There's something about operating a medical school without a license that's mentioned, but then Freddie freaks out, starts like fighting the cops. So they both get arrested.
This is the first time we actually hear the master's name as Lancaster Dodd. That's the first time we.
Oh, is it really?
Is that right? Wow.
I could be wrong, but like when I was watching, I wrote it down. Like, oh, that's his name. We fight because everyone just calls him the master before.
Yeah.
Maybe they mentioned it at some point, but that's the first time I recognized them actually saying.
That's really good. Yeah, when I just know what his name is, so I wasn't even thinking about that. But yeah, I did notice this watch through. I had never realized before. I think this is partly because I watched with subtitles this time. I never realized how often they call him master. Like, obviously it's the name of the movie, but they really do just call him master all day. And he calls himself master in the third person. Like, he asks him, like, during the processing, like, have you had evil thoughts against Master and Peggy? And but so they get arrested. There's a great scene of them they're in adjoining cells, and Joaquin Phoenix is starting to have like some doubts because like Val, the son, has like expressed that he thinks his father's like making this up as he goes along.
Yeah, that was he's making this all up as he goes along. Don't you see that? That was that was right before they got arrested.
Yeah. And then, you know, Freddy's freaking out in the jail. He like destroys the toilet. It's like a great example of like the two acting styles we were talking about before, because they're in the same frame. We've got the two cells, but they're in separate cells, but we can see them both. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is standing still basically the entire time, like looking quite suave, and like Phoenix is handcuffed. He's still manages to destroy basically everything in the cell, right?
Including himself, right? There's that moment where he's like beating himself in the head with the bed frame or the mattress or something. Yeah. And then you said he like kicks the toilet and destroys it.
And like he's shouting like how like no one likes him, and Philip Seymour Hoffman keeps saying, except for me, except for me. No one likes you except for me, which is really like, it's like, you know, they're like fucked up, weird codependent relationship right there, right? Yeah. Anyway, they like get out eventually. There's like some suspicion around Freddy at this point by other members of the family. They like think he might be a spy. The daughter says he's like made advances on her, which at least from what the film shows us is the opposite. She was like making them on him. But Dodd basically says like if we can't fail him, is like and like there's like a really intensive series of like, I guess it's I don't know if it would be called processing or not, but it's like they're doing these we basically get like a Rocky training montage of going clear, where like all these different things they're making him do. Like he has to walk back and forth and like touch the wall and describe it. He's Amy Adams reads him like porn and he's supposed to listen and no reaction. There's the Ethan referenced it before, I think, but or maybe Sarah did, but the scene where the Mr. Robot guy keeps saying Doris to try to get a rise out of him, right? But the idea is they're trying to make him into like, from this like unhinged animal guy into like someone who's like gone clear and is like in control.
They show at one point like the sand sculpture woman from the beginning of the film, like they show the waves like washing her away during this scene, which I found interesting, as he goes through whatever this process is of all these tests. But yeah,
he's also like, there's one moment during that like Rocky montage where he's like fondling the window and kissing it, right? So it's like maybe that I actually didn't notice the waves thing, but maybe that's a dramatization of
what he's
going
seeing.
Clear, right?
Oh, the going, but yeah, like maybe we should probably get through the like back half of this pod maybe a little quicker, but like so we get through the montage. The next big thing is like they go off to Phoenix, Arizona. The second book is coming out. It's like a big like kind of conference type thing, And this is where what Ethan was alluding to before, where like Laura Dern, who is like a true believer and like really knows the lore well, right? is like, wait a minute, there's like a plot hole with the second book. And Dodd freaks out at her, right? Because like, and this is kind of like, validating Val's point that he's kind of making it up as he goes along.
It reminded me of like the scenes where you have like I guess the quintessential example is like an SNL sketch actually, but like with like William Shatner at like Star Trek conventions when like fans come up and are like, well, in this episode there's this like this doesn't really matter. And then he's just like, who cares? It's a paycheck. Come on.
Yeah. Anyways. But like Hubbard is or rather Dodd, right, is claiming this isn't fiction, right? This is supposed to be scientific. He's very interested in being scientific. It's even when it becomes a religion, officially, Scientology, right? Like he's always referring to like these are proven methods. This is not a matter of speculation. So like,
but he changes like, do you like recall a memory to like imagine a memory, and that really Laura Dern's character is not sure what to do with that, but he's sort of like at his wit's end. It feels like at that point he's just like, it's fine.
It's one of the few moments where he loses his cool, right? Like,
it's that in like the pig fuck moment.
Yeah.
Like basically, whenever he's challenged, like he is constantly basically bullshitting, right? And like anytime he gets pushback, he has a little bit of patience for giving some some kind of not very satisfactory answers. But if people don't just accept what he's saying, he snaps. And it shows like how like his supposed like acculturation compared to Freddy is like very fragile. But so anyway, like some other stuff happens, but I think the big important thing is like they go off into the desert at some point, and they're like playing this game that he calls it. He's always like proposing games that are not like, I don't know to what extent they're games. It's a very like 1950s parlor kind of way of thinking of games, I guess, but it's called Pick a Point. And you pick a point and you drive a motorcycle really fast at it. And we see Philip Seymour Hoffman doing it, which like, given his death, that shot like makes me so devastated because he just looks so happy. But then Freddy takes his turn and just drives off and doesn't come back. And so this kind of is like the third real phase of the movie now, where like Freddy is he goes home to Massachusetts, right? He has this scene we talked about with Doris's mother, where like, as Ethan said, like the idea of events we've seen before doesn't seem to accord with like, she's just like, oh, well, she got married and stuff. Good to see you. Like,
hold up. You never did Pick a Point as a,
no. It's too hilly in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah. I was about to say like, there's no points for you to pick. It's like undescript point, like in this general direction versus this one. In Central PA, I feel like we'd always be like, hey, look at that radio tower blinking off in the distance. Let's drive our car out there.
Wow.
And that'd be a whole Saturday evening. You drive it, you listen to Coast AM and you drive your car out.
Did you also grow up in 1950, Ethan?
Yeah. Back when things were still like just great and uncomplicated and just nothing to worry about. I totally off roaded us, but okay.
No,
so
it's okay. But
he drives off. Yeah, he has he meets with the mother, and she's like sort of weird. You're back here, and then he gets a letter from.
Wait, he gets a letter?
Yeah,
or
from Mr. Dodd.
Does he get a letter?
Oh, you're right. It's a phone call.
It's a phone call, but it's a dream.
A phone call.
But it's a dream, yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's not. Yeah, it's not clearly marked as a dream. So I didn't realize it was a dream until like my third time seeing the movie. But
I didn't realize it until you just said that now.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, it's absurd because he's in a movie theater and a guy silently walks up to him with a telephone on like a serving tray And
I
he
just
just
thought
like,
that's how the
and
50s
Lancaster Dodd
worked.
somehow knew to call this movie theater, and then where there's no cord on the phone, I don't even think it doesn't
Oh,
make
wow.
sense. But I do remember being like, oh, that's a weird thing. But that when the first time I watched it, but later when he's talking to Dodd, he refers to like, in my dream, you said such and such. But in his dream, he gets this phone call from Dodd telling him to come to England. And he does go to England, and Dodd has like moved his base there. And we get like really like maybe like the culminating moment of the film in another one of these like long dialogue scenes. I don't know if Sarah, did you want to take us through that or?
Yeah, well, I wanted one quick thing. I know you're taking us through the plot so beautifully. I don't want to take us back, but
please.
Quick thing about the dream sequence in the phone call is that the phone call in the dream sequence is that Dodd says to him, I know where I met you before. I figured it out.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
And so that's sort
very
of
important.
what motivates him to go out and meet him, because I think he wants this origin story, right? Like all of us do. And so he reunites with Dodd. Amy Adams's character Peggy is still very suspicious of him and doesn't know really why he's there, and sort of questions him in these various ways. She eventually leaves, and so they're back in the room again. So the bulk of that conversation, I think, is that Dodd eventually says, first of all, he says, you can like stay here forever. You can stay with me or you can leave forever. But if you leave, I don't want to see you again. Right. And in the course of their conversation, Dodd says that he remembers where he met Freddie. And he says that they both in a past life worked together in Paris in this sort of like secret communications network.
Yeah. For the Pigeon Post.
Yeah,
and they're sending like balloons with messages over like a Prussian blockade. And when is this supposed to be, in like the 1800s or something?
Yeah,
like
kind of outside of time, I think, right?
Yeah. Like, what do you guys make of that? I think it's so straight. Like we're held with this question for so long, and then it's like it's such a weird like quasi historical, but it also feels like almost science fictional like moment. Like, oh yeah, we worked the Pigeon Post together against the Prussian communications blockade. Like,
well, to me, the takeaway from the whole situation, I think he says something like, "Oh, but two got through," or something like that. So to me, he was making the point of like what a team they were working together.
Yeah.
So to me, the ridiculous like quasi historical aspect of the story that he's telling is almost irrelevant compared to like the aim of that story, which is like when we're working together, like, wow, we really came together there and accomplished things.
But I also think the so on the surface like fantastical nature of the story, like there's like a point to that, right? Like it like the film is really like we've been talking about, like these stories people tell themselves, right? Like I think it's really emphasizing there, despite like Dodd's like apparent like he's always like referring to himself as a scientist, like a nuclear physicist, but he essentially just like wants a story. And like the more ridiculous the better, I guess. Like it doesn't it's what it does for him, right? Like,
I mean, I guess a dumb question would be, is there any part of you that believes that Dodd is telling the truth, or is this just a fabrication? I mean, I tend to believe.
I think he believes it.
Okay. Like, because if that's the case, then it's important, I think, that they're both working the Pigeon Post and communicating messages in secret. Like there's a kind of intimacy that secrecy implies. And the fact that they're doing it together, I think, reinforces the intimacy that Dodd clearly wants to cultivate, right? And
and as you were saying before, right, that's like what his potion is made of, secrets, right?
Oh wow, yeah. There's
It's almost
something
like it's made of the secrets they were sending across in like the 1800s
That's
are
really
somehow
cool.
now being made into this potion they drink. But so anyway, basically, Freddie, says he's not going to be staying. He says something along the lines of like maybe in the next life, and which for them is not a expression, right? They like literally believe in at least Dodd does. It's a little unclear what Freddie believes, but the cause believes in these, reincarnation of multiple lives, and Dodd says, if I see you in the next life, you will be my sworn enemy and I will show you no mercy. And then he, in I think like maybe one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in cinema history, starts singing Slow Boat to China, just like staring right at him, which is like this very tender romance song about like, just wanting to be in a confined space with someone else with like nothing else around you.
I was curious when that happened. Like, that's not a throwback to any previous like usage of that song, or like that's just that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's just, it's a popular song of the time, but yeah, he just starts singing it to him. Freddie starts to cry. And then we cut to Freddie's still in England. He's in like a pub. He's making eyes at this woman. And then we cut to them having sex. And he starts...
her name's Wynn Manchester.
Yeah. And he starts doing the processing questions with her, including like the not blinking and stuff. And so like, one of the first questions, right, is like, say your name. And she keeps saying her name, which is Wynn Manchester, right, which is like this reversed and feminized version of Lancaster Dodd's name, basically, like Lancaster, Manchester, right, like two cities, and then Dodd, Wynn, like, and then we like, I think we just end with that shot of the woman on the beach, right, the sand woman.
Yeah, well, also I found it interesting. He ends that. So when Lancaster Dodd did that process with him, he ends it with, "You are the bravest boy I ever met." Like that's his. That's how he concludes their first session. And Freddie concludes his first session with Wynn Manchester with, "You are the bravest girl I've ever known. Now stick it back in. It fell out."
Yeah. Which is so key, right? Because again, like the eroticism that he feels with Lancaster Dodd cannot be reproduced in a heterosexual encounter. And he literally tries to map on to recreate the erotic charge of the processing in the act of sex. And yet like his dick falls out, right? And it's sort of like a comic moment, but it's also like deeply important when thinking about again, this question of sexuality and his impotence and all of that, right?
Yeah, and then I guess we get like this final shot of him like curling up next to the sand sculpture of the woman, and then maybe we get like a final shot of water or something. I'm not sure, but then we end, and we get some more kind of like phonograph jazz, and everybody goes home.
Yeah.
So yeah, something we wanted to talk about, we didn't get to in the plot summary, right? These two very strange scenes, like kind of in the middle of the movie, that happen back to back, which is there's like this musical number where Lancaster Dodd is singing I Go No More a Roving, and to the room, and like there's like a female piano player and like a female double bass player, and everyone's clapping, and he's just kind of like very drunkenly like kind of singing, which basically like a body number, right? And then we get this shot of Freddie kind of like staring at everybody, and then I think the implication is like we're now seeing from Freddie's eyes, and all of the women, and the women only, are now naked, of all ages, and we get like the remainder of the number with all these naked people standing around, which, like, if you're not, the film is not that interested in making sure you know what's going on there. Like, it does give you the tell of his perspective, but like if you're not like paying attention, it's like, whoa, what the hell? Why is everyone naked all of a sudden? And then right after that, we cut to this scene of I don't remember exactly how it starts, but it's Lancaster Dodd and Peggy, played by Amy Adams, like kind of he's standing over the sink, and they're having this like conversation, and she tells him she like doesn't want like this behavior anymore. It's like and it's she tells him, like, basically she says like, you can cheat on me, but I don't want to find out about it, and I don't want anyone I know to find out about it. And then she's like saying about no more drinking that boy's hooch, the Freddy potion. And as she's telling him all this, she kind of comes up behind him and starts giving him a hand job, and tells him to come for me at the end. And like, as it's going, he's like, okay, no more hooch, no more hooch. And then she's like, will you come for me? Come for me. Very like level-headed, like very like unemotional, like almost robotic. And he comes, and the sound he makes when he comes is the same sound he makes whenever he drinks the Freddy potion. Of just this like like kind of like sound. And and then Sarah, you had a question about these scenes, right?
Well, no, I mean,
and did I miss something?
Your description helped me understand what I assumed that she was asking for him not to cheat on her, but she didn't really specify. And so I was sort of wondering what exactly she wanted from him while she was giving him a hand job. But it's related. I mean, that scene, the scene in the bath, the hand job scene starts right as you described, where he's sort of at the sink, right? And he's like washing his face or something, and she comes up behind him. But the previous scene, what I found really strange about it, apart from the seeing through Freddie's perspective, which we don't really get that often, is that in that moment, in that sequence, you're sort of looking around the room and you see all these different women of different ages, and they're all nude. And then you see Amy Adams, and she's pregnant, sitting in the chair, and she's of course also nude, but she's looking back at him in a way that I found very significant. Like, she's sort of returning the gaze, right?
Yeah.
And so that, like, and so then I began to wonder, like, on the heels of that, like, eye contact, that recognition of her and Freddie, is she actually asking Dodd, when she gives him the hand job, to not cheat, or to cheat on her to be discreet, or is it something to do with Freddie? Because I feel like she sees something in that moment when he's looking out and, you know, fantasizing, that I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overreading it, but
no, I think that's really good, because it's a really confusing juxtaposition of these two scenes when you watch it. Because like she's kind of, and it might have not been an appropriate gloss for me to say she's saying you can cheat on me, but she literally says you can do whatever you want. I just don't want to find out about it. And I don't want anyone I know to find out about it.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of colloquially, that's what you think she'd be talking about.
Yeah.
But we haven't actually seen evidence of Dodd doing that. I mean, we know he's had multiple wives and he has children from multiple marriages. It's not like, it wouldn't be surprising. And so like you're reading, it's like, is this about how he was acting in the previous scene? Like, did she think he was being flirty in the way he was like giving this performance or something? But in a weird way, she seems to somehow be like aware of like the ontological status of like Freddie's like projected like nakedness onto these women. It somehow seems to be something she knows about.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And she is like punishing Dodd for his like involvement in a scene that we the viewers have seen, but like shouldn't technically be real, but it seems to be like Amy Adams seems to know about it, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the look that she returns to him is a look of knowing, even though she can't see what we can see because we're seeing a point of view shot. It seems like she is disturbed by Dodd's involvement in the sort of sexualized fantasy that he's created. In part, you know, and maybe it could be all kinds of things. It could be cheating, and it could be this sort of Dodd intimacy stuff, right?
Yeah. And just like, I think part of it, I want to say, and this gets, because there's the whole question, like the film's called The Master, right? And so it begs the question of like, who is the master? And obviously like Dodd is referred to as master, literally, but there are these various scenes throughout the film that suggest like that Amy Adams's character has like some degree of like power over Dodd. Like she seems to really be like in charge. She seems to really have her eye on the prize. And I think about not just the hand job scene, but there's a scene, I think earlier, where like he's typing and like as like Dodd is typing. So he's essentially writing the second book that like he's under a lot of pressure that he hasn't like produced yet. And like as he's doing that, there's like a really like the score is really like loud in the mix at that point, which is weird because it should be a quiet room because it's just him typing, but it feels loud to us because like the Johnny Greenwood score is really loud and she's screaming and it like, or shouting, I should say. And it feels like she's shouting over the music, even though it's not diegetic music. And she's shouting, and this is right after they've gotten kicked out of the party. So like, she's like coming in hot and she's like, they disrespect us. They throw us out of the party. And she says something along the lines of like, if we don't like, we can't have this, or we will never dominate our environment. Right. And she's very invested in this idea of like dominating the environment. Like a very like an idea of like the environment is a field into which the individual enters that they can then have control over, right? And I feel like that moment between Freddie and Dodd and the music and the naked people and everything is like a moment that does not accord with her worldview in a way that is comfortable to her, because there's something going on in that moment where there's a melding of individual and environment, right? That is actually like very cybernetic to talk about, right? And like Scientology ostensibly drew on cybernetics, but it was still like weirdly invested in this idea of creating like individual perfect people. And I feel like almost there's like something in like the Dodd-Freddie relationship almost like undermines the precepts of the cause in some way, because they keep melding into each other. And I think about like there's a lot of just the cinematography in this film. There's a lot of like these shots where it's like the waves, or just like big environments that like people are moving through, right? And it's like there's this sense, I feel, almost of like people are swept up in something beyond their control, but like Amy Adams is really invested, right, in like we need to dominate this environment.
Just in that moment, the scene that you're talking about where Amy Adams is like, we have to conquer our environment, it's interesting because it mirrors the language of, we conquered the day and we won, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so you begin to think like, who is actually like the voice of this like militaristic rhetoric? Like, is it his, or is he parodying her?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting like that we don't get that kind of rhetoric from Freddie, who is like actually experienced war and has PTSD.
Right.
And like we don't know, I don't think, that much about Lancaster Dodd's background, but if we map L. Ron Hubbard onto Lancaster Dodd, like L. Ron Hubbard like made a lot of claims about his war experiences that were not necessarily true. I do think he at some point was in like command of a submarine, but like they were like very quickly like, what the fuck are you doing? Give it back. Or something. But like he claimed to have like lost his like sight or something in the war, and to have given it back using like his techniques, right? But like he's someone who has like a very, at least the real L. Ron Hubbard, right, has this very kind of like romantic idea of war that he's purporting. And like we don't actually see Freddie's war experience very much, as you said, Sarah, but like he clearly is like been damaged by it. And like the post-war society he finds himself in is not really like interested in dealing with the things that the war did to people, right? It wants to like keep going in this just like post-war boom of consumerism, and like there's plenty of like odd jobs for him within that, but none of those places he ends up can deal with the effects of the trauma of war, like when they actually pop up.
And not even the military psychologist, right? Like giving the Rorschach test does nothing. Like he's just sort of drowning, right?
Yeah. The one guy is like really scandalized that he cried.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we heard you had a crying spell. And it's like, is that weird? Like, should that be that big of a problem,
So one of the things it sounds like what you were talking about, Devin, is this idea that like maybe Peggy is the master when we're thinking about this. To me, though, and again, like it all comes down. There's that one line towards the end that Lancaster says, which is, "If you figure a way to live without serving a master, any master, then let the rest of us know, will you? For you'd be the first person in the history of the world." And to me, it seems like a lot of the characters, including Lancaster, including Peggy, none of them are really the masters over anyone else, because they're all sort of reliant upon each other in a lot of ways. In the way that like Lancaster is reliant upon Freddie for his elixir, and Peggy is maybe having a more active role in what's actually happening, but is in many ways reliant upon Lancaster for like the existence of the cause. Lancaster is the face of the cause, so it doesn't matter how much Peggy controls it. You need Lancaster to be the cause of it. And to me, it's almost like the thing that perhaps Lancaster realizes in Freddie is that through his trauma, he's almost now divorced himself from this dependent relationship that is otherwise like inherent in being a member of society. That like you cannot escape having masters by being a person living within this society in which we live. And Freddie, through his incredibly fucked up trauma and PTSD, has seemingly, at least by the end of the film especially, like transcended beyond having any particular master. And it to me, the sense I got from that last scene in England is that Lancaster is almost like frightened of Freddie and the fact that perhaps he no longer has a master, or maybe that like Lancaster misread the idea that like he was the master over Freddie and like was sort of controlling the strings. So I think like that to me was what I took away from that whole aspect.
Yeah, but he can't like connect to anyone though, right? It's sort of like the condition of his masterlessness. Like he's like this, like almost he's an almost like anarchic figure, right? But he just has to constantly move from place to place because of it, right? And I agree. I don't think there is like a master in the film, but I think like the film is about how like the impossibility of these characters to connect in a way that does not produce hierarchies, basically, right? And it's like, there's like a trans-historical way of reading that as like some sort of like philosophical statement on like the nature of like relationality. It also to me just seems really tied up in like this specific moment of like the post-war, like this ostensible victory of capitalism. It's, growth and spread. Like we're supposed to be in the boom years here, right? This is supposed to be when things were good and things were working and everyone seems like miserable. And no one can figure out a way to like actually communicate with each other. Even this like rich businessman, like the pseudo Dodd in the department store, right? Freddie asks him like, is this a gift for your wife? And he says, yeah. And like, it's like his gift to his wife is a picture of himself, right? Like he can only present himself as a mediated object. There's very few moments of like genuine connection in this movie. Like, which is why
the scenes of processing are so are so moving, right? Because they're the only scenes of intimacy.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue ultimately, like one could argue that ultimately Freddie doesn't believe in, in the cause, and that he's just acting. And, we've been talking about acting before, right? Like he's just playing the part. But I think there is a sense in which like, you're right. Like the cause is like the cause is attractive to people because it provides this compensatory intimacy that is otherwise lacking in sort of post-war America, right?
Yeah. And like the liberal rationalist response, right, would be to point out the ways in which like the cause or the ways in which Scientology is like incorrect, like factually incorrect. Like, oh, but this is John Moore, basically, the character, right? Like this is wrong. You can't prove this, etc. Right. But like, I think this film is aware, right, as you're saying, Sarah, that like this, like Scientology became what it became because there was a genuine lack in American society that it provided, maybe not a solution to, but like at least like a palliative of some kind, right? A way of connecting with oneself, connecting to others, that was not being offered by, not being offered by work, not being offered by the domestic family, as the heteronormative domestic family, as was being, packaged and sold in department stores, right? You can't blame really Lancaster Dodd for that. He's recognizing these contradictions and he's responding to them, as is Freddie in his way too, right? And then they, by this like miracle, they find each other. But even they can't, their love can't actually be actualized, or they can't allow it to be, or whatever. Well,
what I was thinking? You can totally cut this, but it just occurred to me that, we never really get to the origin. I mean, based on our discussion, I'm more and more convinced that we never get to the origin of Freddie's trauma. We have a sense of the war stuff and a sense of the childhood sex stuff, but We only get sort of secondhand mediated,
Mhm.
like, you know, the sort of condensation through Doris. We also never get the origin story, or the origin scene of Dodd and Freddie meeting. We only
Yeah.
get that, like, you know, reported back to us, which
That's such a good
really
point.
interesting.
Yeah. I never even thought about that, but we don't actually, there is a, like in the universe of the movie, there is this encounter that we only get Dodd's report of it and the description that like Freddie was like drunk and belligerent. So in that, it seems to the film there, I think, you know, it's just problematizing this whole idea of even finding the originary trauma.
Right.
Which,
I mean, and that's
what the cause is supposed to do, but like you can't actually do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you know, in Freudian terms, it's like the film is refusing access to the primal scene. Like we can't access it. Right. It's just we see the effects around it. We see symptoms or neuroses that grow out of it, but we never see the thing itself, which is interesting.
No, that's great. I love that. Anything else you guys wanted to hit before we call it, or? I think we've got a lot of great material here. This has been awesome.
I just think Lancaster was onto a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
I just want to like research.
Can you say more?
I just want to like I want to research more into that.
Into the cause?
I've been saving up a lot, and I think that like I could get a few readings done that could maybe awaken something about my own past lives.
Maybe
I'm excited about the possibilities, you know?
So just want to, on behalf of Your Tall Pod, thank Sarah Osment again for joining us. Sarah, do you have anything you want to plug for the listeners? All like 17 of them?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at SM_Osment. That's OSMENT, like Haley Joel. I have a couple of things coming out, but they're not coming out until the new year. So I don't know. Find me.
Well, send them to us when they come out, and we'll promote them when they drop on the pod.
Awesome. I will.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks
for joining us. Of course.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for listening to You're Tall, But I'm Standing in Front of You. Please find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the podcast app of your choice, and do give us a 5-star rating. Thanks to all the people who have given us 5-star ratings. I think there were 3 last I checked.
Wow.
They really responded to the explicit call out on the last episode. Follow us on Twitter at YourTallPod. You can follow me, Devin, who hates Scientology and wants to be sued by you, at Mathesippi.
God damn it.
Or you can follow Ethan at Stale Cooper. That's the end.